But bear with me, hoping that everything's going to run okay. There was a couple of live demonstrations I'm going to attempt to do, but I'm not sure how well that's going to work out, just with the connection here. But what I'll present today is some visualization rendering software. So has anybody used Enscape or Twinmotion? Lots of people. You already know what to do. That's fine. So the benefit of those who haven't, I've just got a quick video here that I'll talk over. But really, like I find the Enscape and Twinmotion super handy. It's bridging a gap in BIM, I think, where
Did you want to start?
no, not yet. Sorry. And we read drawings all the time. We work with models, etc. So we find it really easy, kind of visualizing just by looking at a set of drawings. What the building's going to look like or what the development is. But give that same set of drawings to like your sister, your mom, somebody else, right? Somebody who's not technical, and they're gonna have a real struggle trying to figure out and get in their head what the concepts are. So I find this kind of software, this visualization, either doing fly-through videos or rendering still images, bridges that gap where we have other stakeholders, and that could be, for example, I was in Powell River presenting to the mayor and council, as well as members of the public. So I packed up my desktop computer, flew it up on the plane with me, sat there and presented to all these people who didn't really stand a chance of looking at drawings and PDFs and really understanding, right, what we're trying to convey. So for me, I just want to present for the people who haven't used this kind of software, just how handy it is and what we can do with it. So for those who haven't used it, just in Enscape at the moment, this is live with Revit. So it's directly linked. Anything I do in here in Revit will directly affect Enscape. But at the moment, I just set up a model. We've got some Enscape elements that I'm just pointing at, some cars, trucks, trees, and then 3 surfaces. And I just wanted to display what it can do with different materials. Enscape has bespoke materials, like grass and water, where it will actually render and animate those elements. So I'll just show you in Revit. You can see the Enscape tab just at the top there. And basically, you can start it off just in the top left. It's got asset libraries, Enscape materials. Like I said, it's on bespoke materials. So we'll just hit the start button, and that's going to bring up the Enscape window in a sec. And now it's live linking. So Enscape is developed by Chaos, a third party who developed it and supported. So now we're live linked, and we can fly around on one side and work on our Revit model on the other side. So you can see those same surfaces that I had in there. You can also see that as we track around, whenever we're moving, trees and other elements will move and animate automatically. So you're going to see movement in the background. We can change the time of day. I just threw in some pipe work of the boiler job I was doing, just to kind of demonstrate something later on. But now we can go in and start to change some of the materials in the elements, and we have to do all that through Revit. This is one of the issues with Enscape, I believe, is that it really needs the Revit link to start to apply those materials to it. So it's not fully standalone. You still have to have the link. So at the moment, we're just applying something like grass, and grass is one of these animated bespoke materials. So you'll see that in a minute. And then we're also going to take this one and apply water material. Again, these have been imported from Enscape, so they have a mass library of this, and it's as simple as clicking on the material you want, hit import, and apply it to whatever you want in Revit, either a family, a type, wall, etc. And then it'll just populate. Sometimes a little bit of lag between the two, but it is live linked, which you can turn off. So you can turn off that synchronization at any time, work on it for a while, and then turn it back on again. So now you can see the grass, and we'll just kind of fly through it. So it gives it that bump texture. And you'll see it a little bit later in the live view. But so the grass has a thickness. You can control how tall the grass is, what the color is, etc. Water's the same. You can control the frequency of the waves. And again, the color, the transparency. So right away, we've got our 3D models. We linked in all our Revit models. We've been working in BIM, doing all the stuff, and this is kind of just free. It's all in the background. We've done all this work already. Other than applying a few materials, this is, why not get more out of your projects by running these visualization apps? So here I'm just displaying the asset library. So it's just got a ton of different things, everything from people, cars, vegetation, trees, even like townhomes, buildings. So you can quickly load in all your models and create a scene around it. Typically what I do is if I'm working in Revit, I don't use a design model. I'll create another Revit model and then direct link everything into that, which I just call a site model. That way, whatever I do, because all these assets will stay in there. I'm not affecting the designers who are working at the moment. So I like to keep it standalone. So you can see some of the assets I've already placed in there. We just placed a couple of people there and they'll pop up. And then you can move them around, rotate them, etc., depending on what your view is. So you're really just setting up your views for either fly through, or you're going to set it up to do some still images.
Did you edit this video at all, or is this real time?
This is real time. Okay. Yeah, I'll just hit the record button and just went through it. Yeah. So then, yeah, you can see some of the different categories: animals, construction features, again, cars, trucks, whatever you can think of really is in there. And I think there's also custom assets you can do. I haven't really got too far into that. So now just looking at some of the other settings that you can play with as well. My favorite ones is a lot of the environmental settings that we can play with for visualization. And there's one called outlines. So at the moment it's at 0. You can pump up that outline to 100 and it kind of goes into almost a cartoon effect. Whenever I'm doing building mechanical, if I'm doing kind of complicated pipe work, etc., I find it really clear. I can walk through with engineers and PMs and stuff and just have a look. And it's a little bit easier to look at clashes and stuff like that. Yeah, I just like the effect and it just makes everything really tidy. So that's one of the atmospheric settings that you can do. Just scroll around in a second. Then you can look at the rest of your environment as well. So it's just going to flick over in a sec. The rest of the environment can also be controlled. There's all kinds of camera settings, image settings, but the atmosphere side of it is dealing with, well, you got wind intensity. So as you're scrolling around, you can make it windier so the trees will move more. And any other animated elements like the grass and the water will be affected by that.
Is there an earthquake setting?
That's going to be a good one. Yeah. We can play with the mouse and do that, right? But again, like sky cloud density, all kinds of stuff, right? You can get really into it. Lots of different options. There's even contrails for airplane lines. You know, they really went to town with it. Yeah, so those are all the atmosphere output settings. There's also VR and AR capability as well because it's set up. Backgrounds that you can add. So you can just put a town in for the background. It's just like a spherical background. So it'll just, your model will just overlay behind it. Towns, mountain regions, whatever you want, just to set your scene. Sometimes it takes a little bit of playing around to do that, construction sites, etc. The point is it's really easy to do. So again, if you're working in a large model, why not use some of this? We use it for marketing. And as I say, we're dealing with the general public, we're doing presentations, it's really handy. So the last thing just going to show in this video is the connection to Twinmotion as well. Should be right at the end. So you've seen the Enscape tab. If you're looking for the Twinmotion one, Twinmotion is an Autodesk product, so it's a bit easier with the licensing if you're already using Revit. That's in the view, and it's got Twinmotion up there. So it's the same thing. If you open Twinmotion, it'll be synchronized with Revit. But the big one is this export to Datasmith, and I'll touch on that later when we get to Twinmotion. But that's really, you can export a copy of Enscape. That's an exe file and work on that. It's standalone, but you won't have any of the assets. You can't put them in. You can see them, but you can't move them or edit them. And I'll just close this and I can show you that. So this is Whitehorse Gymnastic Facility. And basically, I'm in basically a standalone file at the moment. So there's no connection every time. There's no connection with Revit at the moment. So I can't move any of these assets. I can't click on them. I can still change some of our settings, the visualization settings, like clouds and stuff like that, some of the background elements. So there's still things that you can do, but it's running separately. So we've got electrical people in at the moment. What I love is when you get electrical people on the project because they put all their lighting in, etc. And we go and change the time of day. If you look in the bottom right, there's a little counter, and I'm just changing it to night. And when electrical puts in all their lights, the whole thing will just light up. And basically, I haven't done anything. Like I didn't go in and set any lighting. It's just deriving all the lights and all those effects directly from the electrical Revit model. So sometimes you get really cool effects, and again, you can then output all of that straight into your images. And I'll just show you that graphs for a bit in case people haven't seen it. But
This is Whitehorse.
yeah, this is Whitehorse here.
Can you put snow on the ground?
I'm going to try that. This interactive snow, right? But again, we found communicating with the public and stuff, especially on jobs like this, where they can actually see, this could be a little bit choppy, see what we're going to be building at the end of the day. That's the feedback that really scores high. We get really great feedback on when we can communicate the project a bit better, and so a little bit choppy and the refreshes. So I'll just switch over and just check some of these images that we derived from the model. So again, once we had it all set up, go in. Yeah, so we're just setting up scenes. There's stuff like birds, again, there's some skies, some sun tracing that we put in, we got everything in here. We had a civil model, so again, we could do the parking lot, etc. But it really is sometimes kind of minimal effort. Once you pick where you want to do your shot, you can just populate it with those assets and characters. And away you go. Trying to find somebody that looked good hanging off a wall was found somebody. I think it was supposed to be a yoga pose. Okay, so that's landscape in a nutshell. And then the next one that I was going to show you is twin motion, and I'm just going to do it in an opposite here, so it'll take 1 sec just to load it up. I'll show you the images that we got from it first. That loads in the background. Okay, so twin motion is slightly different. It's got a bit of a different look to it. But the big thing about this is that there are animated characters in twin motion. So when we're doing fly-through videos and even some still images, they'll be different every time because a lot of the assets are moving, they're animated. We'll just track through and show you some of the screen grabs in twin motion. So twin motion, when we export to Datasmith, we can have a separate file, open that outside of Revit, and it's a standalone snapshot of the model at that time. Now you can add all your materials, and it's as simple as dragging and dropping through twin motion, whatever surfaces, like all these tiles, the pool water, that was just added as surfaces. And you can just drag and drop them straight on. Place all the people. Again, the lighting's come straight from the electrical model. We can do screen grabs like this because, again, this group of kids that are basically in the daycare center are animated in twin motion. So I'll show you that in just a sec. We'll run this fly-through video we did. Fly-throughs are dead easy to create. It's just keyframing. So you'll just fly around with your mouse through the model, and every so often you just say take shot, and it will work it out and trace the path and produce the video. Exterior. And then this is the quick flying through. So as it's flying through, you should see some movement. And that's as simple as the way that twin motion does it. They have groups of people you can put in. So it's not really individuals. You have 4 or 5 in them at once. You put them in and they're animated, talking, doing whatever. And it's really effective when you're doing these kind of fly throughs. See some fish in the water there. So again, we've used it for marketing. Like I was talking about, I was mentioning Powell River that we did that presentation for, again, in front of mayor, council, and members of the public. It's a really handy tool. So I recommend using it as much as you can, especially for the marketing purposes. Let's go through.
Look at that downward.
And this is kind of crazy. Just seeing like that's just a group of animated kids that just it's an automatic, just plug it straight in. They're with you. Yeah, so powerful tools. Just recommend using them, and yeah, you can get a lot of your models that you don't think of.
So you primarily use landscape for your still images and twin motion for your videos.
We do a mixture of both. Just depends. So I would definitely go with the fly-through videos with twin motion. But if I'm in there doing fly-through videos, I'll probably do some still images from there as well, right at the same time. Yeah.
Is there a subscription fee for twin motion, or is it included?
There is, yeah, it's a subscription fee, yeah, but it's kind of it's a bit easier to navigate with your Autodesk license.
Great.
I think so, yeah.
Any other questions? I'm just gonna get the next presentation.
Yes, sir. Do you want it on this machine or are you going through?
I actually need to pull that and throw it out here.
Okay.
Good time to ask questions if anybody has some.
Would you typically see those being used like? I mean, I'm sure that there's time and place for them in like, you know, municipal projects, for example, when like you don't have to go to like council for approval or like to the public for a hearing or something like that. But you'd see that, I guess, in like a schematic design phase type of thing.
Yeah, so sometimes what we can tend to do with Revit in our projects is we find that when we get to the 50%, 60% design phase, that's when we're not really bothering to cut any drawings.
Yeah.
Until at least after that, they're getting into the 70%. We try to do everything through programs like this and programs like Registo to do basically like workshops with the client, workshops with other consultants and walk through the model. Because the minute you're working on a design and you have to say, stop, I'm going to make PDFs now, right? And get some drawings together. Well, you're stopping designing, you're not doing design work anymore. You're just creating annotated drawings, right? So we try to keep it in the workshop phase as long as we can. So we'll use a lot of the rendering, imaging, stuff like that. So it's kind of when we start using it.
And then on like a cross-disciplinary project, would you need like every team working in it for it to be effective? You know what I mean? Like, would you need the electrical team as well as the mechanical?
Yeah, and sometimes it's stage right. So electrical usually will come last, right? In some of the design work. So sometimes we'll ask them to put in. You can either, if we don't have electrical for lighting and stuff like that, then we can put those into the model. Right, just in landscape or in motion, just to get some images, fly-throughs. It all depends on what we're going to show, much of that input. Yeah. Do you want to sit in it? Yeah.
Thank you for.
Yeah.